Well, I recently made a video about an Israeli scammer called Damian Sevilla, who had set up a fake WhatsApp account to lure me into this starvation scam and encourage me to part with money in order to send funds to Gaza. And it later transpired this Israeli scammer, Damian Sevilla, is in fact Spanish. Is in fact a Spanish scammer who had acquired or bought an Israeli phone number online. And I'll repeat that this Israeli scammer, Damian Sevilla, turned out to be a Spanish scammer who had acquired or bought an Israeli phone number online that he used in conjunction with the stolen identity of a man called Hema Barbak, a Palestinian, to set up a fake TikTok account and a fake WhatsApp account and use those accounts to lure in more victims and entice more people to part with their hard-earned savings and send aid to Gaza. Now, when I discovered this was all a massive scam, and at the time I was convinced he was Israeli because it was the Israeli phone number that sent the alarm ringing, I contacted PayPal straight away to let them know and report him, only to receive a refusal a few minutes later via email telling me that they were not going to refund my £40, they were not going to investigate him, and they were certainly not going to warn anybody else. So this was on the 25th of April, it's now the 21st of May, and this chap still has an active WhatsApp account, he's still active on PayPal. What does that tell us really about how much money he's managed to defraud in the meantime? In light of the fact, of course, I've not been the only person to report this man. I'm clearly one of dozens, if not possibly hundreds, certainly dozens, who have reported him, Damian Sevilla, to WhatsApp and PayPal with evidence, with clear, definitive, irrefutable evidence that this man has defrauded them, stolen their money under completely fake and false pretenses, only to find that they've done absolutely nothing about it and just actually helping to protect him. So this then raises the question, well, how many other hundreds of scammers are they protecting on PayPal and WhatsApp? And I'll leave you to decide how much money really them successfully defrauding per day from innocent donors. And one thing I do know, of course, is that this is one of the most downright evil scams I've ever seen in my lifetime.
Well, this starvation scam all started here on TikTok, and this video shows us the kind of circumstances that these evil scammers capitalize on, literally using the hunger crisis in Gaza to fleece money from generous donors using stolen Palestinian identities. And this is quite literally stealing the identities of the people you can see in front of us to divert funds away from them into the bank accounts of scammers, while these poor people are left starving, and the generous donors are quite literally robbed and cheated in what is one of the most evil scams I've seen in my lifetime. Now, where I first got lured into this scam was here in my TikTok inbox, where I was fooled into believing I was talking to a Palestinian called Hema Barbak, when in reality I was talking to a Spanish scammer called Damian Sevilla. And the two real Hema Barbak accounts are here in the middle of the screen in front of us, while I was fooled into thinking that this one below was in fact also a genuine account belonging to Hema Barbak, which of course later on turned out to be set up by this Spanish scammer Damian Sevilla. Now, if we just have a quick look into this chat, we can see that at the top of the screen here on March the 21st, the account was still active, still in full swing. 2 days later, March the 23rd, at the bottom of the screen here, we can see that the account was closed down, banned, and the message I tried to send blocked. It says here, this account can't send or receive messages due to multiple community guideline violations. Now, the issue here is they are not being clear. They are not warning people that they at their end, TikTok at their end, have discovered this chap has lured dozens of people into these chats, fleeced them of thousands and thousands of pounds, and they already knew this. And all they've done is shut down his account and not bother to inform all the other people that he's lured into these chats. They've not informed them, they've not gone out and made any effort to warn them that this guy's a massive scammer. And moreover, they've also not bothered to warn other platforms like WhatsApp, because they are acutely aware again that other platforms like WhatsApp, like PayPal, are already in on this scam. And of course, TikTok had a duty to warn those platforms as well, not just all the victims, but these platforms. Look out, we've found a massive scammer on our platform. He's obviously working on your platforms. Close the man down, for God's sake. But they didn't bother. And this is 2 months ago. So you can only imagine how much money this chap has stolen in the past 2 months. Now, the other big issue here is that TikTok have only been allowing through messages from fake accounts and scammers for the past 3 years. And this applies especially to members of the opposite sex. So meaning I can virtually be 100% sure every message that arrives from someone, from a female, is a scam. Here's one example here. Let's just have a look here. They give me a wave. I'm so sick of this that I just give my standard reply. Hello, I have a problem with TikTok deleting all my inbox messages, around 400 deleted in the past few weeks before I could even open them. This makes me curious as to how your message broke through the censorship barrier. I mean, 400 deleted and only yours gets through, so it's not unlikely the only messages they allow through are fake accounts. She replies, probably. We'll see about that. What's up with you and where are you from? So she doesn't really try to deny it, she kind of almost admits it, and confirms everything I've just told you is true. And this also, by the way, incidentally confirms that TikTok are very aware of which of these accounts are fake, which are not, and only allow fake accounts to bombard people that they've taken a disliking to, like me, for example.
Well, since making my TikTok new video yesterday, it has become abundantly clear that PayPal must have known about this scammer Damian Sevilla around the same time that TikTok did on the 23rd of March. Now, how do we know this? Well, TikTok banned Damian Sevilla's account on the 23rd of March for a reason. And that reason was that they must have received lots of reports from users complaining about the following issues: losing money to Damian Sevilla's PayPal fraud and starvation scam, the startling discovery that they had been lured into a fake TikTok account in order to entice them to part with their hard-earned savings for this starvation scam, the discovery that PayPal were persistently refusing to refund any of this money in spite of supplying clear proof that he was a scammer, and of course a huge accumulation of reports that eventually led to his ban. And here we find an indication that both TikTok and PayPal knew about Damian Sevilla's scamming earlier than the 23rd of March, and indeed likely around the middle of February or even earlier. And it was only because of this incredible accumulation of reports and the staggering number of them that they were actually forced into banning him. And this means, of course, that lots of victims must have reported Damian Sevilla to PayPal at the same time, the 23rd of March, and of course very likely much earlier. Now, this is where I first reported the Spanish starvation scammer Damian Sevilla, this chap here, to PayPal on their own platform using the help button here. In relation to the two transfers stolen fraudulently from my account under false pretenses, the first one on the 24th of March, where I stated very clearly aid and food money for starving children in Gaza, and the second one a month later on the 24th of April, where I again stated very clearly aid for Gaza, starving children and Hema Barbak. Now, it was literally the very next day, on the 25th of April, I suddenly realised Damian Sevilla is not a Palestinian but a massive scammer. And I therefore decided to, like I say, use this help facility to report him in light of all the evidence that I had, only to find that they were actually initially trying to close me down and prevent me from actually submitting any evidence. So it was only after some persistence that I managed to successfully submit um, this piece of writing here, just a limited amount of characters, um, to which I received a reply the very same day on the 25th of April telling me that we've completed our review of your unauthorized activity case and we've determined there was no unauthorized use. Now, I found that absolutely shocking in terms of the definitive and irrefutable nature of the evidence that I supplied. And of course, even the statement that I've just showed you, um, here just stating so clearly in capital letters where the money was meant for and who it was supposed to be going to. And the fact that Damian Sevilla had actually pretended to be a Palestinian when he wasn't. So the whole thing was just a massive scam from start to finish, and I had proof of it that was submitted and ignored, which then, of course, translated in a refusal to refund the money, a refusal to investigate him, and a refusal to warn anybody else that this guy was a scammer and about to defraud other people as well. So this then prompted me to raise another complaint on the 1st of May, a few days later, using this avenue here, the chat option, in light of the fact that all other routes had been closed down. And I was promised that we'll get back to you by the 11th of May. And incidentally, if we have a look here, 11th of May is the date that they refused for the second time to refund my money, investigate Damian Sevilla, and warn other people. And the other interesting thing to note here is that if we go back to here, the date's missing. This date here has suddenly disappeared because a few days ago I took this screenshot and we can very clearly see that the date is there. So why have they removed it? This is more evidence of the fact that they are trying to protect this guy Damian Sevilla, the Spanish scammer. They are trying to hide information. They are trying to hide the data that they refuse to investigate, refund money and warn other people, and quite literally make every effort to protect him. Well, this then raises a question: how much money has this chap Damian Sevilla, this Spanish PayPal scammer, managed to actually divert successfully into his bank account since the 25th of April when I first reported him? Because it must be quite a substantial amount. The date here says the 21st of May, so that's just under a month ago that he was reported and very clearly still active, still scamming. Which now raises the question, well, how many other scammers are PayPal protecting on their platform like this?
But if you have a look at the date on the screen in front of us here, it says Wednesday the 14th of May. Now, it was around 2 months ago that TikTok and WhatsApp began to receive reports that this chap here, Damian Sevilla, who set up these fake WhatsApp accounts, was a scammer. And I have clear evidence to show that certainly by the 26th of March, just over 6 weeks ago, they had already, this is WhatsApp and TikTok, already received multiple reports that this chap was a scammer. This chap here, luring people into his scams with chats like this one. And this raises the question, well, how come just over 6 weeks later or 2 months later are these accounts still active, still live? When obviously WhatsApp and TikTok have received multiple, dozens, if not hundreds of reports These people are scammers and defrauding the public, stealing funds, using their platform to set up these scams, luring victims, steal funds through fraudulent PayPal transfers, and cause untold harm to innocent children, civilians, starving people in Gaza while they do it. Now, what provided irrefutable evidence that WhatsApp are aiding and abetting these fraudsters is the fact that I myself tried to report this scammer using the online facility here to block and report, which I did around half a dozen times on the 25th of April. This is just under 4 weeks ago, only to find that today that the account is still active and nobody's bothered to do anything about it, showing me that dozens of people have very likely tried to report this guy before me, only to be ignored exactly the same way I have. Now, the other concerning thing here is that WhatsApp protect the identities of these scammers by blocking screen recorders. So if I try and open up this guy's ID, I see it all colourful on the screen in front of me, but the screen recorder goes black. Shows us that somehow WhatsApp are protecting these scammers, obviously hundreds if not thousands of them, using this same technique of just denying access for all screen recorders and all screenshots so that nobody can photograph, certainly that easily, their identity. And that only raises a question, well, how many scammers and fraudsters are they protecting like this? How many accounts are they keeping active for months on end after they were told that these people are massive fraudsters, robbing people left, right, and centre, causing untold harm to starving children, quite literally starving children to death in this instance? This is unashamedly starving innocent civilians and children to death by diverting funds from vital aid to Gaza into the bank account of some Spanish fraudster like this, some Spanish PayPal fraudster like this guy, Damian Sevilla, which is, of course, absolutely abhorrent and evil on every level.
Now, one last disturbing feature of this starvation scam set up by this Spanish PayPal scammer Damian Sevilla was the fact that he somehow successfully managed to persuade me to set up a GoFundMe. This is even in spite of the fact he already had dozens of donors lured into his WhatsApp and TikTok accounts already donating him money fraudulently. He now had attracted more donors via me setting up a GoFundMe for him. Now, the issue here is that I submitted all the evidence about this intended beneficiary, Hema Barbak, a Palestinian struggling with the hunger crisis in Gaza, without realising it was, of course, the Spanish PayPal scammer Damian Sevilla pretending to be Hema Barbak. And this then raised big questions as to how come GoFundMe were not able to rumble this scam or help me rumble this fraud in a whole month. And I'm referring to the delay in supplying any kind of review or any kind of decision of the evidence I supplied on the 28th of March within the time frame of 2 to 5 working days that they promised. And after a whole month, by the 26th of April, still no response, no explanation, no decision, no review, nothing. And in light of the fact that this was one of the most urgent fundraisers on the table in front of them at the time, and children were dying every day, very evidently, very clearly, extremely urgent, how come they were not able to reply after a whole month? And of course, now we know that TikTok, WhatsApp, PayPal all knew right at the start this chap Damian Sevilla was a massive Spanish PayPal scammer. How come they didn't tell GoFundMe? So there are, I hope you can appreciate, a huge number of questions about this delay and whether or not, of course, GoFundMe knew about this fraudster Damian Sevilla right from the start. So this raises even more questions because obviously GoFundMe are a massive team, decades of experience interrogating scams. Obviously, not all the submissions of GoFundMe are honest or straightforward. There's some kind of scam element or fraud element inside a percentage of them, and they have a team there for precisely that reason, to weed them out and find the honest ones. So 5 days later, on the 25th of April, still no reply from GoFundMe. So I actually called called this WhatsApp number myself, um, only to receive no reply, which then prompted me to do a search on the dial code online, revealing that it was, in fact, Israeli. The plus 972 dial code at the front of the number was an Israeli dial code. Now, this is what led me to believe that Damian Sevilla was an Israeli scammer, before I realised he'd actually acquired or purchased this Israeli number from a dodgy provider online. And by the 26th of April, questions are raised over reasons GoFundMe team not able to rumble this scam after a whole month. And that, again, is a very legitimate question because, as I just said, they're a massive team with decades of experience of interrogating these types of scams and frauds. How come, in spite of they was being furnished with all the evidence, a massive wealth of evidence, and the telephone number, and everything that they need to rumble the scam, how come they were not able to do it after a whole month? When I did rumble it. I mean, that's the opposite, quite literally, of what should have happened. I have no experience of this type of fraud. I certainly don't have decades of experience, and I certainly don't have a big team behind me as well to help me. So I should have been the last one to rumble it, not the first.